Hi guys, so the vets just left. They gave all of my goats the rabies vaccination and they checked in on Rubble. Everyone's temperatures are good, so we'll see how everything goes. I just want to take a minute to show you guys my system here. These quick release horse clips for cross ties on chains make an excellent way to deal with vet care for your goats. Everyone's spaced so they can't hit each other. And the vet can go through and give each one a shot and an exam. Works really good. So these 5 goats here are our meat goats. They're intended for butcher end of October, beginning of November. Since I did not want to give them the rabies shot, I will be probably doing that sooner. So I want to talk to you about the importance of having a good standing with your vet. So, a lot of you might not know, if you have an emergency, if you've never seen your vet before, they won't see you. So if you have one visit a year where the vet comes out and looks at your herd, mine costs $150, $200 a year. Then when I have an emergency, like when I had to bring Mickey in the middle of the night after hours, they will see you. So it's a liability thing for them. They're not going to see you in an emergency if you're not a client of theirs. So I rehome my kids for all the dairy goats. Very rarely will I keep one like Blue or Mickey. So I've had a few of these people who bought kids for me call me when they have issues, and I have no problem with that. But if it's an issue I can't help with, my answer is going to be to tell them to call their vet. And many of the cases, they don't have one to call. So they have to bring them to an emergency clinic, which is very expensive and usually far away, and no one's going to do that. So I had one case where the gentleman brought the goats home. They had some sort of reaction. When I called my vet and told him the symptoms, my vet said they were poisoned by something in their pen within the last half hour. So something in his pen, I don't know what, they got into, they got poisoned. It was the set of twins, and there was nothing I could do when he FaceTimed me with these goats that were dying, and he had no vet to call. And another person called me when her goat was having problems with labor, where it was coming out wrong, and she also didn't have a vet to call. So they lost the kid. I believe they saved the mother, but it's very important to have a vet that you can call when you need them, especially if you're birthing goats. At some point when you're birthing an animal, you're going to need help. And if you don't have a vet, if you don't have someone who can actually help you get the baby out, you're going to have to make the choice to put both the mother and the baby down, or try to do it yourself and hope they live. But it's really nice to have someone to call when you're in an emergency, especially if you're a new goat owner. Having someone who has information for you is very helpful. And I didn't think I had to vaccinate my goats for rabies because it's very expensive, and I didn't think it was a very common issue. But from now on, knowing that I have rabies in the area, I will be vaccinating my goats yearly. Unfortunately, I can't do it myself in my state. Some of the states allow you to purchase it, which is much less expensive. So I'll be spending $750 yearly to vaccinate my herd, which is an unfortunate expense. Um, So I'm not saying you should rush to the vet for every little thing. I treat a lot of issues myself. I'm not afraid to give shots. I deworm. I'll treat a small wound. But not having someone to call in an emergency isn't an option for most farmers. If you choose not to have a vet, at some point you're going to have something happen where you have to put your animal down, and that's okay also. But in many situations, it's nice to have someone you can call if you need an antibiotic, if you need a test run, like my goat has rabies and I need to have a test sent out for this. It's nice to have someone to call, especially in the middle of the night if you're birthing a goat and you don't know how to get the kid out. It's not fun to have to put down a mother in labor because you can't get the kid out and you have no one to call. So for me, a once-a-year vet checkup to keep in good standing with my vet so that I can get those antibiotics when I need them and other things is important. Thank you.
Okay, so one more thing I want to add is as important as having a vet to call is having a mentor you can call. Usually you start out with the person you bought the goats from. You can give them a call if you need help. Most people in the goat community are very willing to help because at one point they needed help too. So don't be afraid to ask questions. So starting out with the person you bought the goats from, usually, hopefully they're a helpful individual. And then as you get into it, you meet a lot of people who also have goats, and having a more experienced person to talk to and walk you through things is really helpful.
Let's talk about farm finances for a second. So I do rehome my kids, so there's a little bit of money that comes from that. But that money goes right into goat food. Pays for most of the food for the year, but not all of it. Paying about $20 a week in grain, and then on the weeks we have to hay in the end of the fall, all winter, and beginning of spring at $7.50 a bale. We're going through at least a bale and a half a day. It adds up to a lot of money. So any money that comes from the goats doesn't touch infrastructure, doesn't touch vet bills, all the other things you need to maintain your herd. Milking gear, fencing is a really big one. So it's definitely not a very profitable gig. It's mostly for home use, but we get healthy milk from them and meat, and they're good pets. They're worth it. So if you're just getting into goats, it's really nice if you happen to have a property where you have a barn and fencing already installed, but make sure to think about everything you're going to need before you start. It's very expensive to start building. All the building materials and the fencing. A lot of money. With everything how it is, I don't think I'd start goats right now, honestly. I started about 6 years ago. Everything was a lot less when we first started, but yeah. With prices how they are, I'm not sure if I'd be doing new livestock. Let's talk about the other animals on the farm in terms of expenses. So this guy right here, hey Boris. Hi. Yeah, you're cute. Sit, stay. He cost me at least one vet visit a year. I just had his annual, and with his heartworm, flea, and tick medicine, so just the very basics, he's costing me $900 a year. And then there's also, he needs grooming because of his breed, so that's at least 4 or 5 times a year. And then any emergency of, hey Boris, hi. Yeah, so when he has diarrhea or any other things, those are always $150 visits at least for the vet. So if you have a livestock guardian dog, expect to pay vet bills for them too. Although Boris is not a livestock guardian dog. He is. He is a house guardian dog. He does keep the critters away though. When we were away for a week, we noticed a lot more critters on the cameras. So having a dog scent in the area will protect your animals better than not having one. Now these guys are a complete loss of money if you're just talking about the price of eggs. I think the eggs are healthier because I know what they're eating. And they definitely taste better. But in terms of raising chicken eggs versus going to Walmart and buying 5 dozen eggs, you're definitely losing money on these guys. They take forever to start laying. And then once they do, they molt. And then they won't lay while they're molting. And then we lose at least one a year randomly. So they're fun to have. The eggs taste good. Definitely no money in having a few hens. Maybe if you start doing bulk and buying bulk feed, they could be profitable. But I've decided to name this girl McMurphy because she keeps trying to fly the cuckoo's nest. Yeah. You're not getting out right now. No. Now these guys, for sure, don't make me any money. I like the fact that my meat is clean. I know where it comes from. I really don't like butchering chickens, so rabbits are my choice. But I did the math. If I raise up my rabbits for meat, each one cost me $18.75 for 3 pounds of meat. That's a lot of money. I'm feeding a better quality feed. I find they do better on it. They grow better. They're healthier. Blue Seal is what I use. And if I can find homes for bunnies, I can cut down the price per rabbit a lot, but probably about $6 a rabbit, so that's okay if I can get to that, if I can find people that want bunnies. But they're nice to have. I enjoy the fresh food. But my sweet Tango. But also, infrastructure on them has its cost. So
I was lucky. I started out with a few free cages, but it still adds up. Unfortunately, when it comes to rabbits, I found out this year when I tried to call my vet to help me with my rabbits that they don't do rabbits. So that was frustrating. Sorry, funny hair allergies. That was frustrating that they couldn't help me. They tried to send me to another clinic who wouldn't see me for a week, which was unhelpful. I needed help that day. But my experience with rabbits has been hit or miss. Some months I have no one wanting to breed, no babies coming in, so I'm just spending money feeding them parents. Other times they're doing great and they breed exactly when I want them to and everything's going well. They're also very delicate animals. I've lost quite a few. The heat is really bad for them, so make sure to try to keep them cool if you do rabbits. And then my last batch of bunnies, I lost a lot of babies to an enteritis. So they had a bacteria in their guts and they stopped eating. I couldn't save them. I tried for a couple days of treating them, but nothing worked. So I ended up losing 19 of the 25 bunnies. So I feel like it's always something in farming. You're always learning new things and there's always something going wrong with something. So keeps you on your toes. So I feel like farming and homesteading in my area in Connecticut is a little extra challenging than it might be in some parts of the country. I don't have very good access to bulk feed. There's one really good farm that sells an all stock, but no one sells rabbit feed in bulk, and sometimes I go through 100 pounds in a week when I have lots of babies. And then as far as vet care, there's lots of stuff I can't do myself that you can do in other states. You no longer buy antibiotics, which is something I used to be able to buy myself, and it adds up in money. So there are also a lot of regulations here regarding sales, so I've looked into trying to sell my products to help get the homestead some money, but anything regarding food just isn't worth it because of the amount of testing and everything required. It's not even illegal to give away milk in this area, so I can't barter it, and selling it I'd have to get approved, and I'd have to get lots of tests run on my goats, and since I don't produce that much, it doesn't make sense for me to sell it, so I just produce for my own family. Everything you can't do yourself definitely adds up. Beautiful out here today. It's nice and cool, fall. Hanging out with my Boris. So homesteading is definitely a lifestyle choice. It's not a job. I don't expect to make a profit from it. But it's nice to know that all my family's food that I can grow myself, I know where it's coming from. I know what's going into it. I know how the animals are treated. It's a good feeling. All right. I think that's all for now. I'll talk to you guys soon. All right. Have a nice day.